And I want to be clear about something. I am not a nihilist. I am an atheist and a secular humanist. I believe I've actually argued very strenuously against moral relativism and very strenuously against subjectivity in art. I believe in the objective reality of a world determined via scientific inquiry. There is no God in this world, but there are plenty of things that are true. In fact, I would argue that the truth value of the statement, there is no God, is true. That is itself a truth. I am a positivist. I believe truth is obtainable, and that one of those truths is that there is no guiding force in the universe. But I haven't been through this here. Not exactly. Bits and pieces. Okay. The problem is the way the discussion is framed. To assume various things for granted. I am an anarchist. I reject Hobbes. I do not believe that people need the threat of God or the threat of some sovereign to fall in line and behave. Rather, I think that religion and authoritarianism are corrupting forces. We are not evil in despite of the state, but because of it. The collapse of the state would bring us back to a natural condition of mutual aid and reciprocal altruism. This is Engels, okay? Not Hobbes, but Engels. This is not because we have a selfless nature, though. It is because altruism and rational self-interest are equivalent when fully understood. I've put a link to a Dawkins film called Nice Guys Finish First. It is very useful in debunking some of the more egregious assumptions that you hear come out of the right on this particular issue. So what that actually means is that I think that Nike is just a tempest in a teapot, because I realize, I reject the assumptions he was working under in the first place. Understanding the obvious truth that there is no God will not collapse society, but allow it to reach its next stage of development. Nihilists should consequently be seen as reactionaries that seek to uphold the status quo at best. At worst, they end up as Straussian neocons like Hillary Clinton that want to take us back into the Dark Ages. There is a certain line of thinking that ends with Nietzsche, but it was a stupid line of reasoning that was in opposition to the real movements of enlightened thinking anyways. His supposed crisis was actually resolved by Aquinas, who was himself just quoting Aristotle. What you see in his writings is a fool coming to terms with the idiocy of his systems of thought. But only fools would have ever walked down that path in the first place. This is centuries after Galileo. So I don't think that nihilism presents us with any sort of a real problem. But if we want to be stuck in this foolish historical narrative that should really be, discarded, a very obvious and completely satisfactory solution immediately presents itself in secular humanism, and there's consequently really no reason to take note of the man or his writings at all. He should be forgotten. Instead, we should remember the line of thinking that takes us from Aristotle through Aquinas and ends with Kant. That's my line of thinking, okay? I don't see anything of any value or use in nihilism at all. Sorry. Also, I just wanted to point out something that Hillary actually said. She said, I don't believe that adolescents are ready for sex or its potential consequences. Parenthood, abortion, STDs. And I think we need to do everything in our power to discourage sexual activity and encourage abstinence. Yep, that's something Hillary actually said. So, he's talking about the protocols of the Zion there. Somebody's asking him if it's a forgery, and he's taking kind of a long-winded way to saying that it is, which is a little bit disappointing. The Protocols of Zion is a forgery. There is no question that it's a forgery. And there's really little reason to really discuss it. But that's not why I'm doing this reacts here. What's more interesting is what this document does. It's an obvious forgery, but its existence takes Zionism out of the realm of history, right? So instead of talking about the reality that Zionism was an above ground movement, like there was no, people weren't doing this behind closed doors. It was very above ground. It was in mainstream media publications. There was very open communication between Jewish leaders and British politicians. There was nothing conspiratorial about it. It was very openly discussed and very uh, openly contemplated, everything about it, right? But but then you take this document and it pulls the whole thing underground and says, we found this document and it purports to claim that there was this. There wasn't a conspiracy. It was openly discussed. It was discussed in the British Parliament. Okay, so um, it's another example of what I would of the conspiracy being the conspiracy. Okay, and this there's only a few more Corbett videos left, so it seems as though I've made it through a lot more than I was going to. I brought this up with 911. Another example of this is the Illuminati. Thankfully, he hasn't gone on into that yet. If he does, I'll bring that up again. But or as well, but it's as though the document was floated around as a forgery in order to um, try and discredit opponents of the Zionist um, uh, the the Zionist program, right? So you put this document out as an obvious forgery. You say all my opponents accept this, and it tars them, right? When in reality, it was never a conspiracy. It was very openly discussed policy. We don't need secret documents. We can just look at the parliamentary record in Britain, right? So it does serve that function, right? And there is a story to it, but I mean it's not in the documents themselves, which are very obvious forgeries. I could have sworn the wiki page said last week that Washington was an open primary. It now says it's an open caucus, and that is confirmed by multiple media reports. So my previous claims that Washington would prove the rigged system need to be revoked. That was based on the state being a ballot vote. Oops. I've been consistent. You can't rig a caucus at the levels you need to win, so we should finally get the blowout in the big state that we've been waiting for. Therefore, this is what I'm saying will happen today, that I think. Hawaii, Clinton will probably win if Hawaii fits the profile of the other Pacific Island territories, like Guam and the Northern Marianas. Clinton does tend to do better outside the contiguous 48. It's the reality. Washington, now that I see that it's a caucus rather than a primary, I would expect Sanders to win decisively. Idaho or Utah numbers are reasonable. So, 75, 80%, something like that. And Alaska, there's simply no data to draw conclusions from in Alaska. I have no idea. So it's about 2 o'clock. I was up today about 5, which was 9 hours ago. And I'm just finally getting ready to start the day. It's been the same thing as the last couple of days, which is that I've been trying to clear off the front of the page in an attempt to keep it that way. But there's always something else I want to say, and it always gets there. The page should be cleared off within an hour, and I'm intending for it to stay that way. I do think that I should finally get to what I'm doing within an hour or two. I really want to get this last archiving push done. I've been just floating through nothing for like 2 weeks now. And I mean, it's the election season. It's hard to know if I would have, been lost in this anyways, but I'm sick of it. I'm done. Beginning of April, I'm getting on to the next thing, one way or another sort of thing. So I'm putting this aside. That's it. I know I'm saying that, but that's it. What happened yesterday? Well, I went to bed a little bit early, and I was just feeling really kind of dehydrated and weirded out all day. I think a lot of it had to do with the heater in here. It's the time of year where um, I've explained this a few times, and it's just because there's such a pool of cold air in behind the wall there. When they turn the heat off upstairs, it just sits. And when you have a big pool of cold air like that, it will just sit until somebody heats it, right? Um, what that means for me is that if I'm the only source of heat, then I'm fighting against this big giant um, wall of cold air, and I need to increase the heat. The easiest solution would be for them to keep the heat on upstairs, or maybe run a heater in the back room, something like that, in order to um, uh, you know negate the amount of cold that I have to fight. But that's not in their interests because they like it cooler, and they actually seem to see. It's going to be like this for me down here, where I have to have the heat up high until the humidity comes in the summer, right? At that point, I will open the window, all the hot air will come in, and it will clear out the cold air in the basement. Um, that's what's going to happen, right? But the impression that I'm getting is that that's actually what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep the cold air in the basement so that it's there in the summer and they can save money on air conditioning. It's just a sort of level of short-sightedness and not thinking holistically, right? They're really just focused entirely on their unit and what's best for their unit without kind of looking at it in the bigger kind of picture. Um, this is something that I have tried to point out to them over and over again, that if they turn the heat off early, um, either I'm going to need to turn the heat up, or maybe we can get some insulation in here, or something like that, right? But the way the situation is with all of this cold air in the basement, I don't have a choice but to turn the heat up. And so what I've actually had happen for the last couple of years is that I have the heat up higher in March and April than I do in January and February because the heat's off upstairs, right? So I can get it by with 22, 23 in January, but then I need to turn it up to 25 or 26 in March because I'm fighting against all this cool air, right? And then if they turn the air conditioning on in April, like I think they did last year, it's just that much worse, right? So I'm trying to create heat and they're trying to pull heat out, right? It's not really the best scenario. I will get used to it, but in the short run, the air created by the electric heaters like that is dry. I've got the door closed, which is maybe not the best for circulation, but I've got it closed because I'm trying to cut off the air circulation, right? It keeps going down to around freezing, right? If we could keep it up, above 5 or 6 degrees, for a long period of time, I could get out of this loop. I could open the door, and I could let the heat work and all these kinds of things, right? But so long as we're getting these, sub-zero temperatures, I need to separate the two areas, um, in order to create kind of a wall of heat, to keep the cold in the back room out of the rest of the room, out of the rest of the unit, right? Otherwise, I'll need to turn. I've got this heater up. The other heaters are at what they would be normally, right? If I was to open the door, I'd have to turn them all up. At least if I close the door there, then I'm acting as somewhat of a buffer, right? So the point is that I think that that environmental dryness knocked me out a little bit early, combined with I may have had too much coffee. Um, Either way, I wasn't feeling the bestest, and that's what happened yesterday. So I was up early today, 5, which means I went backwards on my clock. I would normally stagger forward a few hours, but I went backwards yesterday. Um, and I am today finally ready to get back to what I'm doing. Um, because I did a bunch of ranting yesterday, I decided to go ahead and finish that vlog. I know I've been saying this day after day. This is the last vlog I'm doing. I'll put them aside. This is the last vlog I'm doing. I'll put them aside. But I just keep wanting to clear off that page and then just let it sit because I don't want to use that anymore. It's just I've had I've been ranting to vlog, right? I've been ranting to camera. The point is to get the ideas down, and then I can read it off and talk about it after I've put a structure down, right? It has been a waste of time. I mean, I think everything is a waste of time, but I fully acknowledge that I've lost at least a week, more along the lines of 2. I would have preferred to spend this time finishing what I was doing and moving forward, but I mean, I can't have the time back. I can just grit my teeth and moan about it and just go. This scenario here where I'm just like editing during the day and then I wake up the next day and I just like it's all I've been doing, and it's really just a complete waste of time. It's just like floating through life doing nothing, right? And I don't like that. And I do want to get over it, right? So yesterday particularly was wasted. I regret that. Today, up to this point, has been wasted. I just need to, move forward. And I want this done by Monday at the latest. It's nice to see Sanders way ahead and everything. Way ahead and everything here, but it's quite strange. I had the Idaho open. If you look, you can see there were, about 24,000, 23,000 anyways votes there, right? That's in Idaho. Supposedly, with 63% reporting, there's, 14,000 votes in Washington. Washington's got a lot of people in it, especially out in Seattle. So I think it's hard for me to understand exactly what these numbers are at this moment. I know that refers to numbers of precincts rather than total votes. But I mean, just by comparison, you can see there's 24 or so thousand votes there. By comparison, if you look at Michigan, which had a little more electoral, or a little bit more delegates, but roughly the same. You can see that there's well over 1.2 million votes and 4,000 precincts, 5,000 precincts. It seems like, I know that it's different. I'm wondering just if these are like if you look at the votes, it's like 106 to 31, 109 to 28, 17 to 6. You might imagine that the voter turnout is low, but that's outrageous, right? So what I'm thinking is that it might mean that it's like 17 teams to 6 teams, right? And so, but that number there means it's like 10,000 teams to 4,000 teams. And if you say there's 1,000 people on each team, then it's 100,000 to 40,000, and that sounds more like it, right? But I mean, it might turn out the other way too, right? I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be like 20 or 30,000 voters in Washington. I mean, even in what was it in Arizona? Right. So I mean, you're looking at like 400,000 in Arizona. Right. So it's hard to. I mean, I know I was mentioning before that the date it's Easter? Did it suppress turn up that much? Is it because people have decided it's over? Like, what's the explanation of such low turnout? I guess we'll have to see. Um, as as it develops. But I mean, that looks like extremely low turnout. Um, and it would be interesting to see what's at the bottom of that. Wow, check this out. I've decided to go after the CBC as my first um, uh, clear off for the election cycle, and I'm noticing that like I can't remove the posts, which is really annoying. But as I'm going through it, I kind of accidentally hit this flag button, and it actually disabled the content, meaning that I was able to censor myself. The reason that I don't post to the CBC is because it's moderated. I don't want to post on a moderated board. Like it's, it's their choice if that's the system they want to run. I'm not going to read your paper. I'm not going to, you know, I don't like the idea of censorship, and I don't want anything to do with it. But it's really amazing that I'm actually able to censor myself because I hit the flag button, indicating that there's no. I mean, it's remarkable. Like how is that possible? But at the very least, I should be able to remove the comments that way, because that's what I like to do. Is I like to take all the comments away, archive them, and then delete them. Right? So I'm just gonna run through. I can't delete them, so I'll just flag them all, and I'll let you know. Am I actually able to censor myself at that kind of a level? The CBC is not. I mean, it's well understood in Canada that the CBC is the furthest thing from a bastion of free speech. We'll see just how absurd the censorship has become. And for all you partisan hacks out there, I'll note that it was actually under the Conservative government that the censorship became unbearable, as a part of the move towards converting the state media into a conservative talking or a conservative mouthpiece. What I'm posting here, and I mean, I've had a lot of things disabled. It's never been because I'm too liberal. Sorry, it's never been because I'm posting things that are conservative. It's really always been because I've been far too liberal for acceptable discourse on a state media network. There's a lot of confusion about that, but I mean the CBC has always been a very right-wing organization, a very reactionary organization. If you try to post anything that's at all left of center, they jump all over you, just like every other media outlet. But I mean, like you hear people in the States argue that like CNN or MSNBC are these left-wing, and it's just like it's not even funny. It's just the level of cluelessness is just so outrageous, right? It's the same thing up in Canada. You see all these people argue that the CBC is the loony left, even though it's never been anything but the authoritarian right. I mean it's and that's why I get censored by them, because I'm far it's they don't like anything that questions property. That's the big thing. Any kind of question of property, but I mean anything that's remotely socialist gets like cut out immediately, right? So I'm hoping that this works. Maybe there's a few things I missed, and I can get it all off. The other positive thing of that is that if that does work, then I'll be able to use that as a marker. It would be a lot easier if they just let me delete the posts, right? You can't edit the posts either, right? And of course, why not? Because it's the government. they don't delete anything. They want a record of all your thoughts, right? I mean, I know that. I've always known that. It's just I don't care, you know. Like, do you want me to go hide in the corner? No, I'm gonna, it's, you know, whose forum? Our forum, I'll tell you what I think, and if you want to do what, take away my check. I don't think you're gonna do that. Yeah, or at least you try. I think you tried to do that, and I beat you. Yeah. I've got 5 years. 5 years. That's all I got. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit silly. I think I'm getting a little bit silly because I need some coffee. So I'm gonna do that and get back to what I'm doing. But I mean, as you can see, I'm actually doing it. I'm in the process, and I think that once it gets going, it'll move quickly. I've also been looking at shows for the rest of the, or for the upcoming month. It seems like there's a. Oh shit! I did it again. That's the other thing about this is that if you click on the wrong spot, you've got to scroll all the way back. So I mean, this is not designed to be very useful, but I gotta get through it. Well, maybe I'll refresh it just to see. And hopefully when I come back, it comes up with all of those posts disabled. That'd be great. Yeah. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I've noticed that there's a lot of there's not many concerts in April. I think I mentioned that once before. But there's a lot of DJ nights. I'm actually a substantial fan of electronic music. I've listened to lots of electronic music over the course of my life. It's just I'm very picky, as I am with anything else. Really, the thing that I'm the least picky about is noise or rock. I, you know, run it through, run your distortion through some tremolo pedals, and you kind of can't go wrong, kind of thing. But with electronic music, I'm very picky because while I do enjoy abstract techno, I don't enjoy, house music, right? So there seems to be a higher percentage of that going on this month than normal. Maybe the famously boring Detroit techno scene has managed to explode itself open a little bit, or maybe it's just a fluke. I don't know, but lots of stuff to check out as far as that's concerned. It appears, but yeah, I'm gonna get some coffee and get back to what I'm doing. Wow, that's priceless. All I had to do was press the flag button, and it's gone. So it seems, honestly, that if you want to remove content, all you have to do is push that button. One flag will disable it. No trial, no process, it's just gone. It is time to crash. On the one hand, I didn't get nearly as much done as I wanted. On the other hand, I did get something done. About 10 pages worth. I got a feel for what it's going to be like to pull the CBC stuff off, and that's a good start. I need tomorrow to be really focusing entirely on this because I just want to get it done with. And I think I can probably get almost all of it done tomorrow. So that's my plan. Right now it's bedtime.